Well, that's where I see many people who will say things like, yeah, but we're just trying to improve upon nature. We're trying to improve upon the design. That's a fool's game.
Yes.
That's a dead end road. Trying to improve upon God. We can't make a single cell. We can't make a single human cell, yet our body makes literally millions of them every single day.
That's right.
So we can't make a single cell, yet we look in the mirror at someone who can. And that's not a religious statement. It's the fact that it's a recognition that, I believe you and I both do, that God designed our bodies to be self-healing, self-regulating, and also self-healing mechanisms.
Right.
And it's not saying self outside of miracle. There's such things as, what we believe to be miracles, but that would be outside of the natural design of cut on the legs and it heals.
Right.
Outside of the design of, hey, heart gets arrhythmic and then it resets itself constantly, by the way.
Yeah.
It's outside of that would be a miracle outside of what happens naturally. Whether sinner, whether saint, your body is constantly rebuilding, rejuvenating, and repairing.
That's correct.
In evidence by the fact that every 120 days, you get a whole new set of red blood cells.
Yep.
Your body is constantly making up new stomach line. The stomach lining is changing constantly within the body. Your skin cells are replacing themselves. And so that's why, just a few days ago, my sons got burnt outside. It's the first day in Indiana, and here we are, and now they get burned outside. And yet, is amazing that his body is already healing the sunburn. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to think about it. He didn't even. He knew it existed. If he wasn't telling body heal, his body did that from the inside out.
Yep, amazing.
That's a vitalistic way of looking at this. That the body's more like a fountain than it is a sculpture.
That's correct.
The sculpture, things fall off and you replace the parts and you keep. Nope, the body's constantly replacing itself.
Well, and after hearing you say that, it makes people wonder, then why is it that we age if we're getting all these new cells? And that's a great question we have to ask. Well, here's one of my inputs on that, is that the body has to have materials in which to build. Nobody invites a contractor or a plumber over and doesn't give them materials. They don't have materials. Even the best of the best can't do their job without materials. The body's no different. It has to have materials. And materials, by the way, are not Twinkies and Pop-Tarts. That's not materials, okay?
Those are not materials.
Okay. If you go out and plant a Twinkie in the ground, you just have a hole with sugar in it. Mm-hmm. You don't get anything else out of it.
Right.
But when you plant a seed, you get life. Life comes from that seed. And that should ring a bell. We don't have to be a scientist, I don't think, for this to ring a bell in us. We just have to think, should we be eating things that are alive? The answer is absolutely yes.
Well, you don't have to be a doctor who spent his time studying medicine to get in tune with your body and then understand that the body is doing the right thing and just try to take a step back and not try to fix everything. Think about marriage. In marriage, you might have been here before. I know I have. Leah, my wife, will say she'll tell me all the different things that are problems, and then I go on the mode of trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. Trying to fix it.
Right.
And then she'll say, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
I need you to listen. And our bodies are telling us this. I don't need you to fix me. I just need you to listen and remove the interferences that caused this to happen in the first place. I need you to get out of the way. I know what to do. I know what to do better than you or anybody you associate with knows how to do. I just need you to provide the right environment so I can flourish and heal. And scale of 1 to 10 there at a 7, well, yeah, you want to move your way into 10, but you don't have to get all the way to 10 of optimum functioning and potential there in order to see the benefits of moving into an 8 or a 9 or wherever that is.
That's right.
In order to start seeing the benefits of living better.
Well, that's a good example. And going back to what I said earlier about the diarrhea being, a symptom that the body's using maybe to get rid of something. If we're not listening and we don't ask, well, what is causing this in the first place? And we take a medication, we go, hey, I'm fixed. Diarrhea is fixed. The problem with that is, what if that helps us to not identify the cause, which it often does, and then we keep breaking the rule, but we don't know it anymore because we have medicated the symptoms so the body can now consume the wrong chemical and yet not have the diarrhea. Mm-hmm. You see where I'm going?
I do.
So there's problems with stopping symptoms without identifying the cause. One thing I teach in my seminars is if you walk in a room and you saw a stain on a ceiling, and you called a contractor to come in and fix this stain, and he says, okay, Mr. Smith, I'm going to go down here and get some stain kill and some paint at Lowe's. I'll have it fixed in about 2 hours. You can pay me and I'll be out of here. Well, nobody in their right mind would hire that contractor because what has he just done? Mm-hmm. He has simply covered up the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
because that stain on the ceiling has a source or a cause. Where is that? It's called a leak.
Mm-hmm.
Many times we live our lives with lots of leaks,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't even ask where those leaks are. But there are answers out there. This is not something that has to be difficult. The answers are really pretty clear.
I remember I had an old Honda. No, it wasn't a Honda. It was a Toyota Camry.
Right.
My old Toyota Camry. I bought this thing, my first car, 250,000 miles on this thing, Phil. And that's
Wow.
I bought it, right? With that.
Sounds like it was pretty vital.
and I remember driving one day, and all of a sudden the steering wheel was literally shaking.
Yep.
And here I am, not really knowing much about cars at all. You know, I thought it literally was in the steering wheel, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought the steering wheel was the
Right.
problem. I would have convinced you that I had a problem in my steering wheel.
Right.
Now, if you take it into a mechanic and he told, he could replace the steering wheel, he could tinker with the steering, he could focus entirely on the steering wheel for his entire
Right.
time with my car. And he could probably convince me in a lot of different ways. While the symptoms are in the steering wheel, I could feel it vibrating in the hands.
Right.
He could probably name a whole different ways of the steering wheel being the problem. And we can spend a lot of money improving upon the steering wheel shakiness.
Right.
We can do some things to make it not shake as much. And yet the problem really existed in the alignment, right? The
There you
problem
go.
existed is deeper rooted, let's just say,
Different source.
than just the
Right.
steering wheel.
Yes.
And yet here we make health and make the body so complicated, and we don't look at it the way that we would our car. We don't look at it the way that we take care of our dogs and cats and
No,
our animal
you're
species.
right.
And
Yeah.
yet we wonder why we're so sick. I know why you're sick. I know why everyone is sick. You and I know why everyone is sick.
Right.
And it has everything to do with the paradigm in which we live by.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've seen it. I've sat in people's homes and listened to them tell their son, don't give the dog those chips. Those aren't good for him. And yet they will sit and play a video game and eat half a bag of them, as a child. It's unusual to think how we look at that. Veterinarians will tell you that if your dog, if his ribs show just slightly and you keep him lean and you feed him only the foods that he would be able to pursue in his own environment, that he's going to live maybe 20% longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, why wouldn't that still apply to the human? Most people, not only can we not see their ribs, we can't even see anything because we've got so much obesity. I mean, here in Indiana, I know we're in the top 3 for obesity in many parts of the country because we just consume so many starchy carbs and lots of bakers here, pies and cakes and everything that everybody thinks is wonderful. So
Well, and then you have the average person who comes in
yep.
and has been living that life, and then we get their test results back, or we're meeting with them. And I had a patient here recently. We counted on 20 plus medications. Phil.
Wow.
And I'm meeting with this person, and I just kind of flip over the form, and do you think, she's like, why am I so sick? It's like, well, do you think this has anything to do with it?
Yeah.
Do you think this has anything to do
Right.
with it? Because what's happened is there's been blinders on for this entire time. Not to say that the medical people are bad people or they're doing anything bad. They're just doing what they can with the tools that they have.
Right.
So I want to be very clear.
Yeah.
Within vitalism, there is a little bit of mechanism. And what do I mean by that? It's that, hey, if your blood pressure shoots up to crisis levels, well, use crisis tools or crisis intervention for that.
Right.
If you're in a car accident and you need pieces put back together and body parts that is crisis intervention. And we thank God for our people that are out there who are specialists in crisis intervention.
Emergency
right?
medicine. Yeah.
But we prize that model and we say, well, if I'm not a medical doctor, well, then I just don't feel like I can get a handle on this and understand this. No, having a doctorate in medicine, let's be very clear, does not necessarily make you the all and be all authority on health.
Yeah.
We can't just say, well, they know everything and we know nothing. And let's wait for the drug, because right now what happens is now it's a philosophical dilemma that many people are in right now. Right now, because what's happening is let's wait for the drug to come down so that we can be saved from whatever.
Right.
In like the COVID example,
Yes.
everything that's going on with COVID-19, it's like, let's just wait for the drug companies to come up with their solution in order to then administer that, and it has to be administered to everyone if it's going to work.
Yeah.
And let's just wait for that in order for it to work. No, okay, that rubs against and grates against many people's philosophy, grates against people's religion.
Right.
There's going to be so many people who don't do that. And the reality is that if we have a vitalistic view of the body and understand the body's constantly working to self-correct and self-adapt,
right.
Then we know that poisoning the body on any level is going to have some level of repercussions,
yes.
and there's going to be problems with that.
Well, and again, having said all that, that's one of many. There are a lot of people on lots and lots of medications, but just to go back to this vitalistic body and the fact that it doesn't know how to be sick, it's programmed for health. The first thing we have to ask, if we had a chance to really review this patient's life that was on the 20 medications, there would definitely be clear path to disease. This is one thing we have to understand. There is no mystery to disease. There's no mystery. There is always a path to disease. Just like there is no mystery to health, there's a path to wellness. A statement I make is, you better fall in love with health or sickness is going to fall in love with you. But you have to know what that looks like. And so if we looked at this patient's life and saw that every day that she gets up, she has, a piece of toast, coffee with sugar and cream in it. For lunch, she has something microwave. For dinner, she has the typical steak and potatoes. And this repeats, and sometimes people don't have a very broad approach, to food. And we look at this on and on. They say, well, what's that got to do with 20 medications? Everything. Because there's not hardly any live food, enzyme active food going into that body. How much water does she drink? The body is 72% water. The blood is 80% water. Our saliva is 98% water. You don't have to go to Harvard to know that you need water. Okay. But I've had patients and people tell me that I don't like water. It doesn't taste good. Mm-hmm. This has been their response. Don't I get water when I drink coffee? Don't I get water when I drink soda? I mean, it says on the label there's water in there. Well, the body doesn't treat that the same. Mm-hmm. So when we measure this out, we realize why the body has become so symptomatic is because we haven't given it anything to run on. You've heard me make this statement. The body in bankruptcy. I have this great law of deposit and withdrawal. It visits all of us, no matter what status we hold, no matter how much money we have, we will all be visited by this law. You either make the right deposits in the body, or you make deposits that will cause withdrawals. You have to get the right currency, and the right currency for the body is mainly food from the vine. Every time you dine, have something from the vine, and it needs to be live, not microwave, not cooked to obliterate. I mean, you have to get vital foods, and then understand supplementation is important. We haven't touched on that much today yet, but the truth is the people who study soil are telling us that our topsoils are so depleted that we have about 50 years left until our soils on our average farms will not produce fruit of any kind. Okay. When I say fruit, I mean vegetables as well. Think about that. What's going to happen to our kids? I mean, what are they going to do? Well, leave it up to science. They'll probably invent something artificial that they'll say we'll replace it. But the truth is we're not going to improve upon God's design. We need to get back to rejuvenative farming and organic farming so that our lands are not going to be depleted. Because if they're depleted and we eat the foods that are depleted, then we are what? We are depleted. And I've heard you teach this as well.
Well, and right there. So improve upon God's design, improve upon nature.
Yep.
We've never been able to improve upon nature. It's always backfired. Whenever we try to reroute a river, it backfires. Whenever we try to redirect a river and make it flow a different way, it literally, what about when we tried to remove all the wolves from Yellowstone? What happened there? There's this whole chain reaction that ended up happening, right? And literally an entire ecosystem that became bankrupt. Whenever we deforest, there ends up being this catastrophic issue, things that happen, and this domino effect. So we can't improve upon nature. So why do we try? And this is the difference, because I believe the difference that we're talking about and where people get really fired up here, Phil, is this right here, is that it is a worldview difference. It's a difference in worldview. Someone who says, I can play God, be God, and treat the body like I am God, versus those who say, hey, let's take a step back, let's respect the body, understand that there is a creator, it's not me, that there is a design here, and it's intelligent, and it's way more intelligent than you and I ever could come up with. And when we understand that and recognize that, then we have such respect and honor for the body. We don't attempt to trick it. We try to get out of the way. We identify things that would cause it to be sick. And we remove those interferences, support it naturally with foods that are from the earth, from nature, from God, however you want to say it. And then do the things necessary for the body to function at its best.
Yeah.
Stay in good alignment. Take care of your teeth. Make sure you're nourishing your body with good food. Making sure you're exercising. It's not that complicated. What becomes complicated is disease.
That's right.
And you have something here that I like, is that only the body can heal itself.
That's correct. That's correct.
Only the body can heal itself.
That's exactly
we
right.
We can't disease the body and wait for some outside intervention, or someday where they print organs on 3D paper.
Yep.
That's what they're looking at. So they're looking organs on. So we can't just wait for them to come out with something that's going to end up saving us. No, this is a maybe a philosophy that says, let's take full responsibility over our health.
Right.
We're thankful for those who serve. We're thankful for those who are there in a crisis situation. But when you actually study it, we're not getting the bang for the buck that we should be getting from $4 trillion spent in healthcare.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who studies this stuff, and there's going to be a study that comes out with the COVID-19 thing that's happening. They said all the hospitals shut down of non-essential healthcare, right? So they didn't do surgeries, they didn't do that, and they're going to see I think it was $40 to $50 billion drop in income, right? And what they're going to find out is that there was no net harm done by $40 to $50 that now are not being used in healthcare, and yet society, the people, they're not going to even notice it. There's going to be still heart attacks. There's still going to be cancers. There's still going to be these things, but it's not like we're going to see this huge spike in deaths because we weren't there to do non-essential healthcare stuff. Yeah, they're actually saying there might be evidence that it was a good thing. Yeah. And so thinking about that, we have to, and it's not just you and I saying this. There's a study, Kilo 2009, just look this up. And I'll paraphrase this, is they said that we have to recognize and maybe even come to the conclusion that the way that we've been doing things is maybe actually causing net harm. That healthcare might actually be causing net harm. Yeah. And we're seeing this over and over and over again. Right. Part of that is because of a worldview that says, I've got to improve upon the design. Right. Fool's game. Right. That's a dead end road. Right. But you say only the body can heal itself.
Well, and a couple things I'll add to that. So let's say we're in a crisis situation. We need emergency care. We hire an absolute excellent surgeon. He goes in and he does a bypass. Okay. All right. So let's take out that only the body can heal itself. If we take that out of the quotient, even the best surgeon's in trouble. You know why? Because even though they move veins from the leg to the cardio area, what has to complete it? What has to complete it? The body's got to get involved.
The body. Yeah.
The body's got to get involved here, or we're all in big trouble.
Right.
Okay? So even if we are taking little too much credit for the things we accomplish in those surgery rooms, we better stop back and humble ourselves, because the body is still involved. My friend is still involved. And you know, another thing I want to add, you said earlier, we can't say every physician out there, their intentions are different than the outcomes. We all may intend well, but we can only use the tools that we have at the time to accomplish whatever we're going to accomplish. We're just trying to give people another paradigm, another look at this. The body is extremely smart, and we've got to learn to honor it. It is very, very vital, and we have to learn to honor it. Otherwise, we're going to be in a constant circle of just simply trying to paint stains. Like I said earlier, we're never going to get to the leak. And that we just keep renaming diseases. It can go from one thing to another name, but it actually was the same leak all along. It was the same leak all along.